Real Enigmas and Theories is back again with another video. The replay value for Season 2, Episode 6 of Severance is undeniable. The mixture of the color contrast from the severed floor to the outie world gave us that Season 1 vibe all over again. The acting from each one of the dinner scenes, and new rabbit holes to go down and find some of the biggest clues to this show yet. Get ready to pull those magnifying glasses out and zoom in on the esoteric breakdown of Severance Season 2, Episode 6. Thank you to all that are here to watch, and a warm welcome to all the newcomers. This one's gonna get pretty deep, so without further ado, let's cook. This is the look you get when you hear something that you don't know whether to cry, scream, or just laugh that shit off. But Helly took a little walk and came back to let Mark know that it was time to get busy, and she knew the plastic tent would be the best place to get down and put something on Mark that'll give him a for sure nosebleed. I mean, this is Mark's third time working on his shallow rams, and you could tell by Helly's hair and all of the fertility symbolism that Mark, Helly, and Helena are about to be parents. And we love us some Helly, but she was wrong about Helena wanting to march the mellows with Mark just to be a tactic to draw a wedge between them. Helena was trying to get pregnant. I mean, I know I've been saying marching the mellows a lot lately, but Mark been out here packing them up. I mean, he got the midwife, Gemma, Helena, and now Helly. I mean, Dylan is getting busy with his outie's wife, but Gretchen is still pretty much snacking on the same glizzy, so there's nothing too spectacular over there. And if Milchick is smashing Dylan's wife, then that makes him the side dude, so. But enough with the small talk. I was chatting in the Discord, and Mickey B pointed out something to me that I think really gives our guy Irv a chance. So the number on Irv's door was 20 when he left to go to the payphone. However, when Milchick comes to the door, there's no number. Perhaps Irv has more than one apartment, and that could be the reason why we don't hear radar barking. This image right here also shows Irv's address, where we know him to have received some kind of mail, which would confirm at least another address for Irv. And perhaps Irv knows a lot more about Bert and Fields other than their address. Maybe he's anticipated all of these moves and could be in total control of the situation. I mean, just look at that dinner conversation. Irv gave them dude nothing. Pause. And him bringing in that wine with Fields getting drunk and spilling the beans might be confirming something for Irv that he already may have suspected with Bert working there for 20 years. I mean, Bert kind of shot himself in the foot when he went out there and brought the shit back up. And speaking of wine, back in my episode 2 breakdown, I mentioned that Mark hadn't taken a drink that whole entire episode. And it stood out to me because Devin and Rickon was pouring up right in front of him, and he didn't even ask for a glass. And here we are waiting on episode 7, and we still haven't seen him take a drink at all, which is a good thing considering what he's going through right now. Drinking would probably only mess things up, and I hope that that doesn't happen. Now let's talk about the ritual centerpiece. I thought it was a nice touch to show him drinking water in episode 6 with the same glass he was drinking liquor in Season 1 in the scene where he rips up Gemma's picture for that midwife chick. The glass represents a vessel, which he brings up earlier in the episode with Helly about them sharing vessels. And they had just been drinking from the vessels with Irv's face on it. The duality in this concept was dope because when he drinks the liquor from the glass vessel, he rips up the picture of what he thought to be his dead wife and was still rejected by old girl after he did so. However, when he drinks from the vessel of water, he sees an image of Gemma alive on the severed floor, and then he fell. Crystal vessels are used in many rituals, and right here it displays a subtle ritual centerpiece. Water is natural, earthy, and connected to physical existence. And liquor is supernatural and is a product of fermentation, which is the process of death and rebirth. And alcohol is also referred to as spirits. This was a beautiful touch and a crazy display of attention to detail and a masterclass in theater alchemy. Now, like I've said before, these episodes are just getting better each week, And this is going to be a satisfyingly painful finale when we realize that it's over and we're going to have to wait for season 3. The level of ethical questions this show leaves us with, along with the moral and social commentary, this show is going to have us gathering for months after the finale for sure. We got to see more of Milchick's struggle with a company that not only embodies the verbiage of the olden days, but the arrogant ignorance of those times as well. I mean, we have a guy who throws around word like compétence or whatever he said, only to tell Milchick that he uses too many big words. It really makes me think about Milchick's motivation and why he's willing to put himself through a reflection ritual of transformation by scolding himself in the mirror, practicing to appease the company and their fake diversity. Also, practicing with the paper clips, which is the real symbolism that lies within this scenario. Milchick arranging hundreds of files and joining them together with paper clips until his hand shook like Mark's hand in the reintegration chair made me think about Project Paperclip. Project Paperclip was a covert operation initiated by the United States after World War II to recruit German scientists, engineers, technicians, many of whom worked for the Nazi regime, to work for the American military, aerospace, and technological advancements. The program was run by the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency, and it officially began in 1945, and it continued into the early years of the Cold War. Project Paperclip, along with other government programs like MKUltra, experimented with human consciousness, perception manipulation, and altered states of mind. Some of the recruited Nazi scientists had already conducted research into altered consciousness, hypnotic states, and the effect of extreme conditions on the human mind. And after they were brought to the USA, these studies were expanded upon by the CIA, the military, and government-funded think tanks. Operation Paperclip got its name from the paper clips that the U.S. intelligence officers attached to the files of German scientists and engineers who were being recruited. And these paper clips indicated which individuals would be given priority for relocation into the United States, despite their past Nazi affiliation. Although this was a crazy reference, this episode gave us even more rabbit holes to go down. By the way, if you're liking this video, go ahead and do all that dope YouTube stuff for me. Tap that screen a few times and share this with someone who you think will find this interesting. Now, here on this channel, we've been talking about the egg symbolism in all different types of shows. But this show, we've been talking about even how like Devin says that Mark's a good egg, the egg drop contest, the coveted egg bar. And I remember even Britt Lauer mentioning that she joined a circus. And when she was there, she stayed in a small egg trailer. So when I saw the Chinese restaurant, I thought of egg foo young, egg drop soup, egg rolls, and I was looking for them to show us Mark and Helly toasting egg rolls and laughing it up, but they didn't. That sent me down a whole rabbit hole looking for the actual restaurant involved. And I found Ing's Chinese restaurant in Kingston, New York. And Kingston is where some of the filming was done for this season. Ing's Instagram page had these gems on there, but this one right here stuck out to me in particular. This one of a newspaper is the same Kier Chronicles article about the innies blowing the whistle that Milchick gave to Mark. The article is the same without the omitted lines, but this time it has a different title and photo. But what strikes me as even more interesting is this article right here about a Lumen Industries ether factory in Salt's Neck spilling alcohol in the local water supply. This revelation is crazy when you remember that Kier invites you to drink of his water, but it gets even crazier. Remember when MDR was doing the ball exercise and Milchick brings up that Helly having weak enamel on her teeth? Then we saw the mouth room close to the perpetuity wing. Also, the exports hall guy comes and picks up dental supplies from O&D. Now check this out. I remember Mark W. getting fired and saying that he dropped the lease in Grand Rapids. Well, in our real world, Grand Rapids is the first place that fluoride was added to the water supply. Again, Kier invites you to drink of his water. Now, in the Kier painting, you can see that he's standing above several bodies of water that bear resemblance to the Great Lakes, with Grand Rapids nestled right in the middle. Now, I have tied the Severance chip itself to the pineal gland in previous videos. Now, research has shown that fluoride accumulates in the pineal gland, which regulates sleep and produces melatonin. The pineal gland also regulates states of consciousness, and I've already shown that they put this severance chip very close to where the pineal gland is, and we could even see that in this episode as well. Calcification of the pineal gland can reduce spiritual awareness or critical thinking, and some studies suggest that high fluoride exposure can negatively impact IQ and cognitive development, especially in children. Fluoride being used as a tool for docility and control aligns perfectly with the severance chip, acting as a synthetic suppression of consciousness, literally shutting off higher awareness, just like the fluoride calcifies the pineal gland. Now, the pineal gland has been linked to spiritual awakening, intuition, and higher consciousness. And it's also been called the seat of the soul. And that speaks to how we see Mark in the intro credits jumping down into the seat of his brain. That slice of intro was no doubt metaphorical, being that it was used in both intros. And look how it switches up in the second one, literally turning into a goat head. Now, you all know my theory about the goats. I think they're putting the goat consciousness into the severance chip, and when the person wakes up as an innie, they're actually that goat's consciousness. I know it's tinfoil, but we'll see. Now, if Lumen's water is metaphorically or literally suppressing the pineal gland, then it reinforces the idea that the innies are being deliberately cut off from their full natural selves. Now, my theory about the soul and the body is if you have these two different consciousness that are sharing the same body, then they're sharing a soul. Because my theory is that the soul is actually connected to the body in some way. The soul drives your will to live and who you are. And your will to live is directly connected to your immune system. And your immune system is responsible for helping you heal, withstand pain, and so much more. So this would link the soul directly to the body. And if the innie and outie are sharing a body, then they must be sharing a soul as well. And the pineal gland being called the seat of the soul speaks heavily upon the conversation that Irv and Bert were having at dinner about him going to hell or not. In other words, I think that their preacher was totally wrong, and that was just some Lumen propaganda. And if they're being cut off from their natural selves, not just through a corporate control, but through an actual biological chemical mean. Now, throw in Project Paperclip and how the Nazis and later even the Soviets used fluoride to make prisoners more obedient in concentration camps and in the gulags. And suddenly this show is playing with some deep historical allegory. Lumen Industries becomes a modern stand-in for the mass psychological experiments, but now wrapped in a corporate dystopian hell. Now, I've been boiling up this theory about Lumen's agenda predating Lumen Industries and even Kier himself. And I would even go as far as to say that Kier is a made-up figurehead positioned to be worshipped in order to control the workers. And if not, he was chosen by said organization, just as the Kier hymn ritual chant suggests. Kier chosen one Kier. Who was he chosen by? Now, if this show is displaying notions of fluoridated water and Project Paperclip, and we have a clear pathway to my theory about the secret society's influence, then we must mention the secret societies that were pulling the strings behind the scenes of World War II. The Thule Society was an occult group that played a major role in the ideological foundation of the Nazi Party. This German secret society was obsessed with esoteric mysticism, racial purity, and the idea of a hidden Aryan super race. Many high-ranking Nazi officials, including Heinrich Himmler and Rudolf Hess, were affiliated with the Thule before and during the rise of power of the Nazi. And once the Nazi regime fell, these scientists and researchers who worked under the Thule Society were brought into the United States through Paperclip. And what that did was that embedded Nazi esoteric knowledge into the American aerospace, military, and intelligence programs. Now, all of this is facts, and they got Milchick sitting up there with the paper clips. I mean, what is this about? What are they saying? I mean, the way we see Milchick demonstrating the paperclips is exactly how Project Paperclip got its name in the real world. So I think this connection is undeniable. And when you look at my secret society, well, let's just get to it. American intelligence agencies use Masonic networks to recruit former Nazi scientists, Freemasons, and the OSS or CIA, and many of the CIA officials like Alan Dulles had Masonic ties and used those connections to orchestrate Paperclip and MKUltra. The Masonic obsession with duality and mind transformation and the separation of the conscious and subconscious align perfectly with the severance process and what MKUltra sought out to achieve. Secret lodges played a role in hiding these Nazi scientists in the US after Paperclip was over, and many of them were given new identities and absorbed into groups like NASA, DARPA, and the CIA, and they were paid very well. And for some reason, all of this makes me think about Bert and his affiliation with Lumen. Fields said that he and Bert had drinks with one of Bert's Lumen partners. He didn't say co-worker, he said partner. He also said that the Attila nickname was frightening the Lumen partner. I wonder what that meant. It makes me wonder if Bert was doing the recruiting or if he was recruited. And I really do hope that Irv is 10 steps ahead of Evil Hodor and Bert's bullshit. I really hope he didn't just go over there to eat and bullshit. We do know that Irv had already been investigating Bert, but we don't know much about the intel that Irv has. We just know that he had his address and his innie ended up going over there when the OTC jumped off. Now, all of this talk about Kier inviting you to drink his water makes me look at this scene again with Mark falling on the floor after having that sip of water. Yeah, I know that he just had Ragabi sticking needles in his brain, but him drinking that water totally changed his attitude. In fact, that whole reintegration episode that he had happened right after taking that sip of water. I mean, don't get me wrong. Mark sees Helena at the Chinese restaurant and realizes that he's being watched and he wants to push the needle forward, so to speak. So he rushes home and lets Ragabi push a needle forward into his head. So that's definitely a wired risk taken. However, his actual action of falling happened right after taking that sip. He was even trying to pick the glass of water up again right before falling. Wait a minute, did I say wired risk taken? That's an anagram for drink Kier's water. See, Ben Stiller, I can do that shit too. Y'all gotta holler at me for season 3, man. So there you have it. Some esoteric symbolism, history, copious amounts of tinfoil, and some other dope theories. And if you like this video, go ahead and do all that dope YouTube stuff. Tap that screen a couple times for me by liking, sharing, and getting ready to hop down in the comments. And if you're not subscribed already, hopefully this will be the video that makes you do it. Anyway, just a little something to think about while we wait on the next episode. That's all for my video today. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.